Like so many of us, 2020 literally pulled the rug out from under my feet, and when all was said and done, my life was a hot mess. And now here I am at 40-something, healing from depression and anxiety, doing my best to live my best hot mess life, all while making some magic and miracles along the way, using the same sacred feminine principles that I've been preaching for so long. And now I get to share all of that with you. My name is Maria, aka the Femme Coach, and you're listening to the Femcast podcast, the podcast for wild, sassy, and spiritual women who are ready to tap into their sacred feminine superpowers to live their best hot mess life. This podcast is listener discretion advised for mature content and coarse language. What is up, and welcome back to the Femcast. I am so excited to have you here today. I am probably going to go on a bit of a rant today, so please bear with me as I have a lot to say on this topic, and I've got some notes, which I don't normally do. But I just know that if I didn't bring some sort of a guideline as to what I want to talk about today, I would have gone on for what felt like an eternity and probably wouldn't have made a whole lot of sense because I would have literally just been ranting. So today's topic of conversation is toxic positivity and how positive thinking is keeping you unhealed, stuck, and disempowered. And this is a really serious conversation, so I want you to just sit down and take a deep breath and just be willing to just kind of listen to a different perspective than what you might be hearing out there, because this is really important. And again, like everything that I say, I always say, take what resonates and leave the rest. These are the things that I believe. These are the things that I've experienced. And these are the things that I've come to know. So you have to always, kind of tune in and see what aligns for you. But I just want you to be able to kind of openly and non-judgmentally give this some attention and see how you feel about what it is that I'm about to say, okay? One of the greatest lies that we've ever been told is this idea that all we need to do is just think positively and then positive things will happen. And the danger in this is that, number one, it's extremely untrue. And number two, it leaves us in a position where now we're almost judging and blaming and shaming ourselves when things don't go well. Yes, we are so powerful. We are powerful beings, absolutely. But we have to learn to understand why we're here in the experience that we're having, right? And for each one of us, that experience is going to be unique. There are things that, yes, that we do attract, but there are also things that we kind of come here to experience. And it's important that we appreciate everything in our experience as something that is supportive and here to help us grow. And that includes how we feel. That's a big part of it. So when I think back to some of the really difficult times in my life, going through divorce, when I left my career and had no clue what I was going to do, losing my home several times, like it was more than once that happened, and feeling like, when you feel like you can't fall any further, you think you've hit your rock bottom, and then you fall like 10 stories further down. And then I'm like, oh, like that scene in Bridesmaids where she's like, remember when I thought that was rock bottom, when she's talking to her mom? And she's like, it wasn't. This is rock bottom. Those moments, right? When you're at your lowest low. And I can remember being in so much pain and so much anger at myself, anger at what had happened, anger at the world. Like I felt like I was just being punished, like everything was just falling apart, and I was just in so much pain and so much loss and so much grief. And I can remember, not only am I feeling all this pain and grief and sadness for everything that I've lost and everything that I've been through, but now I've also got all this pain and shame for how I'm feeling and how people around me are making me feel. I can remember even people shaming me for how I was feeling and judging me and being, telling me I shouldn't feel the way that I'm feeling. that I should think positively about it, or that enough time has passed, I should get over it, or I need to see things differently, or I need to see it from a higher perspective, or I need to see the benefit in what happened. And true, those were all true. There was reasons to everything that was happening. There was a beauty to it. There was a method to the madness. There was a gift in the pain. There's always a gift in the pain. But I needed to be in the experience first. I needed to feel the feelings. And a lot of times these were people that I was going to for guidance and support as I moved through some of these really challenging and painful times in my life, right? And when I realized what was happening, I put as much distance as possible as I could between me and these people. In many ways, that's kind of why I took a step back from the spiritual community completely, because you do see these principles and beliefs just running rampant, right? In all the social media posts and all the content out there. Just think positive, just think positive, just think positive, positive thoughts, positive affirmations. Positive thoughts bring positive results. All true. All true. I'm not saying that it's not. It is. But there is a beauty to what you're feeling, no matter what emotion it is. And there's a reason that you're feeling it. Now, I later came to realize that a lot of the judgment and the shaming that I was projecting was really a reflection of the own judging and shaming that I was doing towards myself. I mean, it is what it is, right? It was a perfect mirror reflection of what I was doing to me for feeling the way that I was feeling. But I do believe that a lot of the self-judgment that I was experiencing was, maybe wasn't caused by, but was very strongly influenced and enhanced by this powerful message that we keep perpetuating in the spiritual community, that all we need to do is think positive and everything will be fine, right? That we just need to always think positive and feel positive. And sometimes it can get, like I said, it can get ingrained in us so heavily that we get into this cycle of fear that, if we have a negative thought, oh my God, I'm going to make bad things happen. I'm being low vibe. I'm going to attract a negative experience. Karma's going to come bite me in the ass. All these things, right? It starts to create this fear energy. And that's all a bunch of BS. The only negative belief really is that our feelings or our pain or our experience is anything negative, really. When in fact, everything that we see, feel, and experience in our world is supporting us in our own spiritual growth and evolution. Everything is serving, even the most painful things. And the important thing to remember, we will, hopefully if we're doing the work, we will eventually come to that perspective that whatever this pain or experience that we're having is somehow serving us. But we have to let it sort of marinate and happen in its own timing. We can't force it. We need to be in the feelings for a little while. The important thing is that we find healthy ways to deal with our emotions, right? So while keeping a positive attitude, positive thoughts, and a positive mindset is really important, it's just as important, if not more so, to acknowledge and feel your feelings, all of them. Most especially the ones that are incredibly icky and uncomfortable. Those are the ones you need to spend time with the most, because I'll tell you, when we're happy, we love to relish in those emotions, and we'll sit there as long as we possibly can and we'll milk it. But when we're feeling something funky, something that doesn't feel good, something that makes us feel really uncomfortable, we're going to do everything that we can to avoid it. And that's just what we've been taught to do. We are all spiritual beings having a human experience. Sorry, while I adjust my headphones here. And I truly believe that the main purpose of that experience is to feel a full range of human emotions and to be able to kind of, turn them all into like a flavor or a creation of love. Like even our anger and our pain and our hate can sometimes serve a really powerful purpose if we use it in powerful ways, if we choose to see it as something beautiful as opposed to something awful, right? Everything serves a powerful purpose, and everything that we feel can be used as a tool to aid in our spiritual growth. I truly believe that. And I truly believe that as we experience this full range of human emotions, that is how we grow. I believe that is how we evolve. I believe that is how we heal our wounds. And I'm not going to say become more whole, because we are whole beings, but there is a certain element of rejecting certain parts of ourselves that we think are not good, right? So this is how we become a fully whole integrated being, where we're integrating all parts of ourselves, right? And that's really where all of our power, our superpower comes from, right? When we talk about the sacred feminine superpowers, which was one of the earlier episodes, I believe it was, I think it was the one before this, I think it was episode 5. We talked about the sacred feminine superpowers, and one of those are really our emotions. And this is where all that power comes from, right? When we learn to use our emotions as a tool and stop wasting all our energy trying to run from them, our power becomes so much more amplified, right? And we become so much more powerful as spiritual beings to really create and cultivate a more harmonious reality for ourselves. And when I say harmonious, I don't mean by any means that it's all positive. Life is a shit show. It's a hot mess, okay? And in many ways, we are here to experience a lot of things. Yes, we attract things and we create things, and we have the power to create, pretty much anything we want in our experience, assuming that it is for the highest, greatest good of all. Now, sometimes what is for the highest and greatest good is not always the most comfortable. Change and transformation is never comfortable, right? When we're up in our shit and it feels really uncomfortable and we feel really triggered by what's happening in our environment, that's where the most change happens, right? All extremely uncomfortable. But that is where we evolve, where we grow, where we heal, and where we tap into our power. So then I ask this question: why, as a spiritual community where spiritual development and growth is something that we claim to support and are trying to cultivate, are we denying or shaming people for being in their emotions? Like, I really want you to think about that. Because let me tell you, I've met coaches and healers out there, and I've even thought about changing my name, like the branding of the Femme Coach, because I just have so much resistance to the name. But you know what? No, it is about coaching and healing for feminine energy, so it stands for now. But there is something in the coaching community where we're denying that people the right to feel what they're feeling. We're shaming them for it. We're judging them for it. We're blaming them for it. And there's so many spiritual healers and teachers out there that are so uncomfortable to hold space for someone in their negative emotions. Well, they're not even negative, right? I don't know what you want to call them, low vibratory emotions, right? There's so many out there that are just so uncomfortable to hold space. Not all. There's many out there that are amazingly powerful beings that to me are just angels, on earth, that have the power and the balance and the ability to hold space for anyone to be in their pain and their trauma and their wounding, and be able to hold that sacred space for them. And that is when you've got somebody you're working with somebody who's really powerful. When they're uncomfortable because you're in your pain or in your trauma or in your fear or in your saboteur, I would probably rethink that situation, to be honest, right? Because then that means that person has not embraced their own pain and trauma. There's something that they're running from, and they're kind of projecting it onto you. Do you see how that works? It's so brilliant. So why are we labeling and vibe shaming people who are in their emotions and seeking support? Why are we hindering growth? Are we so afraid of our own growth and healing and power that we're projecting that fear onto others and keeping them from fully expressing and feeling themselves and growing? Maybe, possibly all of the above. I don't know. Either way, the greatest thing that we can do is to recognize the negative effects of positive thinking that it can have, right? If not used properly. Again, everything is a tool. It's all in how we use it. And what we can do to kind of overcome it, right? So when we talk about positive thinking, right? And you know, you might be asking, how is it keeping me unhealed to think positively? Well, feeling is healing, right? So if you start to feel something that feels really negative and really uncomfortable and feels really icky, and you start to feel sad or angry or irritated or agitated or triggered, right? And you immediately start to shift that to a positive thought. What's actually happening is, you know, you're not feeling the pain that actually is begging you to acknowledge it, right? Most of the clients that I've worked with because in some point in their life, usually multiple points in their lives, there was an experience that created pain or trauma, sadness, loss, feelings of rejection, unworthiness, whatever, that they didn't properly process, usually in childhood, right? They didn't properly process through those feelings. They kind of stuffed them inside of them somewhere, right? And, you know, tried to hide them from the world and not feel them because it was too painful, and made up a belief or a story to avoid ever feeling them again. Usually, you know, those beliefs and stories are based on lies, and it's usually just perpetuating the cycle of recreating the exact same trauma or wound until we acknowledge that pain or belief, right? So oftentimes, you know, I mean, I say to people, if people would just allow their emotions to be felt and move through them, as uncomfortable as they might be, without numbing, avoiding, distracting, or positive thinking your way out of it, like just allow yourself just to be in the feeling, whatever that feeling is, and wait for that emotion to, number one, you want to create a space for it to express itself and come out fully, right? So let it get more uncomfortable if it needs to, and then allowing it to just kind of move through you. And it dissipates on its own if you just let it be and not hold judgment towards it, or try and hide it or avoid it or distract yourself from it, or project it onto someone else or take it out on someone, you know? If you just allow it to just be and find healthy ways of moving through it and expressing yourself through it, whether through journaling or meditation or, you know, anything like that, these emotions will start to slowly let go of controlling you, and release anything that's trapped inside of you, that's being held and contained within you, that is creating a pattern or behavior that maybe isn't serving you, that is feeding a fear or a belief that isn't serving you, right? Just allowing it to just be and come out and reveal itself to you, and accept it fully. And then letting it just dissipate on its own, and just breathing through it until it does, whether it takes 5 minutes, whether it takes an hour, whether it takes 10 hours, whether it takes a few days, it doesn't matter. We're meant to feel those feelings. And an important part of spiritual growth is being able to sit with those feelings and not trying to avoid them constantly, and allowing them to integrate as part of you and accept them as part of who you are, and stop creating judgments about them, or feeling like you need to take it out on someone or blame someone for how you're feeling. You know, those are your emotions, and you're feeling them, and you're going to honor them, and you're going to feel them fully, right? And that is really how we heal the emotional body. The reason why we can't do that is we're constantly running. We're avoiding, we're projecting, we're denying. You know, we're doing all these things instead of just feeling the feelings, which is really the most healing thing that we can do for ourselves. Next, so you might be also wondering, how is it that they're keeping you stuck? Well, like I said, right, if we're not feeling the feelings and we're not allowing them to kind of be surfaced and acknowledged for what they are and integrated as a part of our being, what we're going to end up, we're keeping them trapped inside. And when we're keeping them trapped inside where they're unseen, unnoticed, and unhealed and unacknowledged, what they're going to do is they're going to keep attracting people, places, and things that are going to be triggering them until you do acknowledge them. So all those patterns, all those things, like all those situations, patterns, or whatever it created that wound in the first place will keep happening. So if it's rejection, you'll keep getting situations where you're feeling rejected. If it's abandonment, you'll keep recreating circumstances where you're feeling abandoned. If it's feeling unsafe, you'll keep attracting situations where you feel unsafe, right? If it's lack, whatever it is, you'll keep perpetuating people, places, and things and circumstances that are going to keep triggering those emotions so that they can be witnessed by you and fully felt and fully released. And the more we avoid, and I always love, oh my God, I love when people say, they're having a really rough day. Like I woke up this morning and everything was pissing me off and I just felt so triggered and, blah, 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 blah. And they're going off and then I'll check in with them later. So do you want to chat about what happened? Oh no, I feel fine. I went for ice cream and then I went shopping and I bought a dress and everything's good. I feel so much better now. And I just feel like saying, okay, why don't you call me the next time that whatever story was coming up for you decides to trigger you again? Because I know it's going to happen. So, I don't mean to laugh, but I do because I can say that I've done that myself. So I'm talking to me when I say that. Where it's like, oh, you know what? I was feeling really shitty, but I went out and I had an amazing lunch at Freshie and I bought an adorable new pair of shoes and I bought a purse online and I feel great. Yeah. Okay. Let me know how that works out for you. Story of my old life. Okay. So, and how is it keeping you disempowered? Well, this is really simple. So and there's actually so many ways that this is keeping you disempowered. Number one, do you know how much energy it takes to constantly keep running from and avoiding your emotions and stuffing them, denying them, avoiding them, keeping yourself so busy, spending all your money and going out and gallivanting and socializing and keeping your calendar so full that you never have 5 minutes to yourself to sit with your feelings? Do you know how much energy that burns? And do you also know how much energy it burns to keep denying a part of yourself and kind of showing up? Because you are a whole being, but when you're not honoring your emotions, you're kind of showing up in the world as half a being because there's a whole other half to you that you're not accepting, right? So you're showing up as half a being, you're showing up as half in your power. The other power is being drained by trying to hide a part of you that you think is not good or worthy to show to the world, right? And really, another way that you're draining your power is because you keep perpetuating all these patterns that really you could put an end to and really just get into the flow of starting to live your best life and move through with ease and grace and flow and just kind of embrace whatever, experiences are coming towards you as a powerful tool and experience, right? You're wasting all your energy perpetuating these cycles over and over again instead of going out there and just living your best life, right? So it becomes such a drain on your energy in so many ways, right? And you're literally, I can't stress this enough, you're literally fighting against yourself. You're fighting against yourself every moment of every single day. And that is draining. Can you imagine with what you could do if you stopped resisting that part of yourself that you think is not good or not worthy or you don't want to look at or, you think is you don't want to acknowledge? Like if you were to just stop using all your energy to resist that part of you, can you imagine how powerful you'd be just from that? Can you imagine if you stopped perpetuating these cycles of toxic relationships or massive amounts of debt and never being able to kind of get ahead or or constantly chasing your own tail, trying to build your career and never feeling like you can get your head out of water. Like, can you imagine how much more powerful you'd be if you would just stop repeating these cycles over and over again? I'm telling you, it's amazing. The most painful thing any one of us can do is deny our pain. It is literally self-inflicted abuse and gaslighting. So just allow it to be. Feel your feelings and feel them fully. Your feelings are a gift. Pain is a gift. Anything, whatever internal emotion that you're avoiding, there is a gift in there somewhere. And I think sometimes on a deep level, the reason why we've learned and taught and allowed ourselves to avoid them for so long is because maybe we're afraid to be in our full power. And we know that a lot of our power, on a higher conscious level, we know that there is much power to be gained by our feelings. Our feelings are a tool. There's nothing negative or positive about them. They are a tool. And it's how we choose to use those tools that determine whether or not they're really positive and negative. Now, usually people use or choose to use pain, anger, and hate in negative ways. Hence why they kind of become known to be negative emotions, but they're not. It's all in how we choose to use them. So when we start to look at emotions or feelings as tools, then we can now see and create space for us to feel them and acknowledge them and witness them and allow whatever gift they're trying to bring forward to come forward. This may take time. Like I said, it's not going to happen overnight. It takes practice. I still have days where I feel like completely shitty and I'm like, there's got to be, there's no way that there's anything good that can come from this. But I always somehow manage to come back to that space of, I know there is a gift in this pain for me somewhere. I know that pain is a gift and there is a gift here waiting for me somewhere. And I just have to be willing to see it. And that's something that I always come back to when I'm going through anything that's difficult. Your feelings are there to heal you, not hurt you. So just allow them to heal you and allow them to move through you and allow yourself to step into that power that's trying to cultivate within you. I honestly believe that as we do this more and more, and as we feel our feelings and start to get comfortable with being uncomfortable and being in our really uncomfortable emotions, that's when we truly tap into our power as spiritual beings. And I believe that as spiritual beings having a human experience, that is why we're here. Hence why that power comes from it, right? Again, going back to the sacred feminine principles, right? And those sacred feminine superpowers, right? Your emotions are one of those greatest, can open you up to those great superpowers. But you have to be willing to spend time with them and allow them. And I know that that can be scary and I know that that can be uncomfortable, but it is an absolute game changer. And that's why, like, one of the recent changes, the last changes that I made to my Radical Shift Daily practice was to add this question of how am I feeling today? Because we just don't do that often enough. We just don't acknowledge how we're feeling, right? And yes, I mean, the practice is designed to kind of shift you out of those feelings, but it is also there to help you connect with them, right? On a daily basis, which I think is really powerful. So if you haven't signed up for it yet, wherever you're seeing this on the social medias, there's usually a link to it somewhere. And if not, just go to my website at thefemcoach.com and you'll find a link to the Radical Shift Daily practice there. It's literally 5 steps, 5 minutes to help you create a radical shift in your life. So I encourage you to do that. And let me know in the comments, again, wherever you're seeing this, let me know in the comments. Did this resonate for you? Have you ever been in that situation where you've been shamed for how you're feeling, right? Have you ever shamed yourself, right? Can you attest to running or hiding from your emotions or trying to avoid or deny how you're feeling, right? I know I used to live my life in denial. It was great. Life was awesome in denial. No, it wasn't. It was awful. But I convinced myself that it was awesome, right? So yeah, have a think about that and let me know how this resonates for you. And if you're finding this somewhere where, you're not seeing a place where you can kind of comment, shoot me a message at maria@thefemcoach.com. I always love to hear from you guys and how these conversations resonate for you. And let me know if there's anything else you want me to talk about or anything else that you're struggling with. So that is all for now. Until next time, massive love. You've been listening to the Femcast podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you enjoyed this episode, please follow and share. And don't forget to check out my website at www.thefemcoach.com for more resources and tools to help you harness your sacred feminine superpowers to create your best hot mess life. Until next time, massive love.